In Hawaii, ahi refers to two species, the yellowfin tuna and the big-eye tuna. It has a slimmer profile than the big-eye tuna, with distinctive soft dorsal and anal fins, and finlets are bright yellow. The dorsal and anal fins tend to lengthen with age. Smaller yellowfin are also called shibi in Hawaii. Yellowfin tuna has flesh coloration that ranges from pink in small fish to deep red in large fish. Large fish have greater potential to have a higher fat content than smaller fish, a desirable attribute for raw fish products, as well as for searing and broiling. Fish landed in Hawaii range from 3 to well over 200 pounds. Smaller fish are usually caught around fish aggregation buoys and over seamounts. The large fish, over 100 pounds, are usually caught in deep open ocean waters. They are preferred for their typically higher fat content and greater yields. All Hawaii yellowfin tuna are line caught. Most of Hawaii's yellowfin tuna are caught by deep-set longline fishing gear offshore of Hawaii. The remainder of Hawaii landings come from trawlers, handliners and pole and line boats, aka U-boats. Fresh Hawaii yellowfin tuna are not caught in purse seine nets, as they are in fisheries that supply tuna canneries. Caught year-round in Hawaii's waters, yellowfin tuna is usually most abundant during the summer season, May to September. Suggested preparations: raw, sashimi, sushi, poke, seared, grilled, broiled, sautéed, dried. A preferred species for sashimi. Also excellent for grilling and in seared or blackened fish preparations. Its mild flavor and firm texture adapts well to numerous. Hawaii yellowfin tuna is an excellent source of healthy, extra lean protein. It is also low in saturated fat and low in sodium. It is rich in niacin, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, phosphorus and selenium. Hawaii yellowfin tuna is a good source of magnesium. Hawaii yellowfin tuna also provides about 350 mg of omega-3s, DHA and EPA, per 4-ounce serving of fresh fish. Click here for nutritional labels and claims. Current status: Hawaii yellowfin tuna are being fished sustainably. Overfishing is not occurring in the Hawaii fishery or in the western and central Pacific. Population is not overfished. Hawaii's longline fishery traces its roots back to 1917, when Japanese immigrants introduced flagline fishing to Hawaii. Flaglining involved a long main line made of sections of tarred rope set horizontally in the water, with multiple leaders and baited hooks, suspended by multiple floats with flags, hence the name, flagline. Those early vessels were wooden, designed and constructed by Japanese boat builders in Hawaii. Early flagline fishermen depended on native Hawaiians on the island of Hawaii to obtain opelu, mackerel scad, for bait. Some became involved in the flagline fishery. The number of flagline vessels based in Honolulu and Hilo rose to 42 after World War II, but declined to 14 by the late 1970s. The fleet expanded again in the 1980s, reaching 164 vessels in 1991 as modern, long-range steel hull vessels from other fisheries off the mainland US joined the local flagline fleet. During this period, the flagline vessels converted to modern monofilament mainline, line setters and large hydraulically powered reels. The fishery became known as longline. Longline fishing has been the main source of sashimi tuna and other fish since the early 1980s. Today's fishery has two segments. The majority, approximately 125, set gear deep in the water column during the day, 45 to 400 meters, to target big-eye tuna, our prized sashimi fish. During part of the year some vessels, approximately 30, target swordfish, the world's premium grilling fish. They use shallow-set longline gear to catch swordfish as they swim nearer to the surface at night. The Hawaii longline fishery is one of the most intensively studied, monitored and best managed fisheries in the world. It has achieved a high level of compliance, 94%, with the global standard, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's Code of Conduct for Responsible A drifting longline consists of a main line kept near the surface or at a certain depth by means of regularly spaced floats and with relatively long snoods with baited hooks, evenly spaced on the main line. Drifting longlines may be of considerable length. Some drifting longlines are set vertically, each line hanging from a float at the surface. Longline are used mainly to catch large big-eye tuna, albacore tuna and yellowfin tuna in tropical waters, as well as northern bluefin tuna and southern bluefin tuna, swordfish, marlins in temperate waters. The longline used for tuna fishing is made up of units, sometimes known as baskets, each of which consists of a main horizontal line about 250 to 800 meters long with 4 to 15 branch lines, each with a wire leader and a hook. The depth where the hooks are set in the water column is a crucial element. This depth in which the long line is settled can be regulated mainly by modifying the intervals of the main line between float lines and partially by adjusting the length of float line and or the speed of shooting, to a lesser extent, by modifying the length of the branch lines. Industrial tuna longliners are usually large vessels with length ranging between 30 and 70 meters. The basic requirements of a tuna longliner, industrial type, are adequate speed to reach faraway fishing grounds, enough autonomy, fuel, water, accommodation of crew, etc., capacity for operating in the high sea, sometimes very rough seas at cold temperature, facility for very efficient freezing storage, to retain extremely cold temperature under 45 degrees Celsius, to keep the highly valued tuna for months together, suitable deck arrangement and equipment, protection of crew from rough weather and sea conditions, machineries for shooting and hauling up long lines quickly and proper storage facilities for keeping the fishing gears and accessories. These large specialized vessels can stay away from their home ports for 10 to 24 months. If the vessel's cruise is less than a month, the tuna can, in principle, be stocked directly in isolated fish hold. However, nowadays the large commercial tuna longline vessels used to stay at sea for months, sometimes up to almost a whole year. In such situation, the catch has to be frozen, in perfect conditions for maintaining top quality for the product. Hence it is necessary to extract blood, pre-cool, freeze and install fish in a store at a temperature of -40 degrees Celsius to -60 degrees Celsius. It is very essential to freeze the fish meat to such a low temperature so as to retain the quality and color of the meat for a very long period. Possible exploitation forms using tuna longlining are industrial and semi-industrial. Tuna longlining is carried out in open waters including in the high sea. The hooks fish in subsurface areas and at depths of about 100 to 300 meters, maximum depths of 175 meters for the conventional longlines and of 300 meters for the deep longlines. Tuna longlining is a passive type of fishing technique making use of lines with baited hooks as fishing gear. Midwater longlining allow catches of fish in midwater and near surface, while casting and retrieving. Midwater longlining for tuna, which would be originated from Japan, is now a widely used method for catching tunas in the depth range from the subsurface up to 300 meters, the most common method with purse seining, the later being more appropriate when tuna are grouped in large schools and, normally, not deeper than 100 meter. A typical set consists of 200 or more units or baskets, connected together, with a buoy at each connection, and a total of about 3,000 hooks. The details of the fishing operations, maneuvers, given below are included only as examples since they reflect specific conditions, vessel size and equipment, crew and fishery conditions. The baiting of hooks may be manual or made by baiting machine. Traditional bait is sories. Depending on the target species, squid and various species of fish, e.g. mackerel, are used for bait. In the manual baiting operation, the crew member responsible for attaching the bait to the hook does so by piercing the bait by the hook at the time of casting the branch line just before being connected, clipped on, to the main line by another member. The baiting machine is usually located aft of the line storage rails. The bait is fed into the machine via a spiked conveyor belt. It is essential that the bait be firm as it helps to ensure a good hooking rate. Before the line is set, the bait is removed from the freezer and thawed partially before use. Baiting machine are usually designed to bait 10-20-00.
A typical set consists of 200 or more units, baskets, connected together, with a buoy at each connection, and a total of about 3,000 hooks. Generally, branch lines are stored separately and attached to the main line while casting the line, each hook being baited just before leaving the vessel's deck. The vessel steams at between 9.5 knots and 11.5 knots. The long line is paid out from the aft storage wells on the upper deck through a series of PVC pipes and a hydraulic line feeder, situated on the lower deck amidships, at a rate of about 450 meters per minute, 27 kilometers per hour. The depth of the main line can be varied mostly by the distance between which the buoys are attached to, and also by changing the speed of the feeder and the speed of the vessel. The rate at which branch lines, snoods, and buoy lines are attached to the main line, and therefore the space between snoods, is controlled from the wheelhouse. Radio buoys are used for locating the line at the start of the haul or in the event of a broken line. Between 2,500 and 3,000 hooks are set over a total distance of about 100 kilometers, taking about 5 or 6 hours to complete each set. At least 5 crew members are required for the setting. After the last radio buoy is set, the crew retire for about 4 hours before the start of the hauling operation. In general, the starting time for hauling the lines depends upon the number of baskets set. Hauling usually takes at least a full day, 11 hours and more, and requires a line hauler and a dozen crew members or more. The last radio buoy set is usually the first to be hauled on board. It is located with the help of the radio direction finder or by radar, and is hauled on board and detached from the main line. The main line is threaded over roller guides and through the hydraulic mainline hauler. The speed of recovery is controlled by a crew member. The main line coils under its own tension from the hauler onto a conveyor belt which carries it across the deck from starboard to port side. Any tangles in the main lines are removed as it moves along on the conveyor belt. The vessel steams along the main line at an average speed of about 6 knots, with the line retrieved over the starboard side at a rate of between 150 and 250 meters per minute. Branch lines are unclipped off the main line as they come over the side of the vessel or after they go through the line hauler. The snoods are coiled, either by hand or with an automatic coiler, and are tied off around the hook with a loop of the line near the clip, then packed into bundles of about 20 or into baskets. These bundles or baskets and the buoys are placed at intervals onto a conveyor belt on the port side of the vessel. This takes them to the crew member who is packing the main line into the aft wells, and they are then stacked at the stern ready for the next set. When a large fish is detected on a line, the vessel slows and may turn to starboard to follow the fish. When the fish is brought alongside the vessel, a gaff or a harpoon is used to land it, preferably avoiding spearing the fish in the meat part. Once landed, the monofilament line is cut so the hooks remains in the mouth until dressing. This practice reduces the time a tuna may spend on deck in a stressful situation, and makes handling of the catch much easier. A live catch lifted on the deck must be killed on the spot, because it is very dangerous for the crew to work beside the live catch that goes on jumping madly on the deck, as well as to keep the quality of the meat in a good condition. With tuna, the caudal fin is removed immediately with a saw. All the fishes are disposed of to the freezing chambers, but only after gutting, removal of gills and guts. All the catch are washed and put in the pre-cooler room. A large fleet of industrial tuna vessels is operating with midwater longlines in the Indian Ocean and in the Central and Southern Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The fishing method was perfected by the Japanese in the 1930s,
but its use did not spread outside Japan until after Second World War. The Japanese longline fleet mainly target yellowfin tuna and albacore until about 1970 to supply the growing US canning industry. Then the fleet gradually switched to big eye tuna, which currently accounts more than 60% of the catch. The shift was driven by economic and market forces. Tuna longlining is a fishing technique used all around the world by the following fleets: Taiwan, Republic of Korea, Indonesia, France, USA, Canada, Province of China, Chile, Spain, Philippines, China, Belize, Honduras, Panama, India, Iran, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Netherlands, Antilles, Seychelles, Libya, Portugal, Liberia, Ghana, Namibia, Senegal, South Africa, Ecuador, Morocco, Ireland, Brazil, Venezuela, Uruguay, Italy, Malta, Tunisia, Croatia, Cyprus, Greece, Turkey. Tuna support a very important commercial longline fishing throughout the tropical and temperate. Sanmai Oroshi, or three-piece cutting, is an essential technique for Japanese chefs. It means breaking down the fish into two fillets and the center cut with the skeleton. Sounds simple, but it takes good skills to do it right. The goal is to preserve the flavor and texture of the pristine fish by minimizing damage during the process. At the core of this mission is the Japanese mottainai philosophy, which essentially means, it is too precious to throw out. Sanmai Oroshi represents this mindset. A well-sharpened knife and good skills can increase the value of each piece. For example, instead of discarding it, the bony center part can be used for stock or making umami-rich crunchy snacks by frying them. In the case of tuna, the meat scraped from the bones is called nakaochi, and connoisseurs ask for it at sushi restaurants in Japan. Traditionally, the knife used for Sanmai Oroshi is deba, but Chef Yuji developed his own way to break down fish while working in Western kitchens in America. He uses gyuto and scissors for this article instead. Gyuto is the Japanese equivalent of the classic Western chef's knife, and it is used to cut everything from meats to vegetables. Santoku is another versatile Japanese knife with the added superior function of vegetable cutting and is popular among home cooks. Whereas deba's hefty weight can make the cutting task easier, gyuto's blade is thinner and more flexible than deba's. That is why Chef Yuji prefers using gyuto for Sanmai Oroshi. If the fish is over 10 pounds, you need a deba, since the bones are too big to cut with scissors, he says. The chef also emphasizes that it is very important to understand the structure of fish to break down the fish smoothly. Be sure to know where the bones are and align the knife with them accordingly. Locate where the bones start by feeling along the backbones of the fish. Cut the collar from where the bone starts. Move the blade towards the belly, but go only as deep as you hit the ribs. Once you hit the ribs, lighten the pressure as you cut the belly to avoid damaging the guts underneath. Repeat this process on the other side. Remove the guts. Gently cut the head off from the body. During this process, make sure that the tail remains attached to the body to keep your hands safe. Also, only use the tip of the blade, the first third of the edge. Cut the belly skin. Pull your knife gently through the belly, using the bone along the belly as a guide. The knife must stay parallel to the spine. Gently cut through the meat inside the belly skin in pulling motions. Stop when you hit the ribs. Rotate the fish and cut the backside. Use the backbones as a guide. Slide your knife on the bones as you press the blade onto the cutting board. Continue cutting towards the ribs in pulling motions and stop when you hit the ribs. Cut the fillet off from the tail. Separate the fillet and the middle part of the fish with scissors. Slices of raw bluefin tuna sashimi on white dish on wood background. Tuna is a versatile and delicious fish that chefs around the world favor, particularly in Japanese cuisine. While there are around 15 species of tuna worldwide, you are most likely to encounter 5 types in your culinary adventures, and each type differs enormously in terms of taste, texture and color. Here we delve into the 5 different types of tuna most commonly used in sushi and sashimi: bluefin tuna, southern, Pacific and Atlantic, big-eye tuna, yellowfin tuna, skipjack and albacore. The largest of the tuna varieties is the bluefin tuna, which can reach more than 2 meters in length and weigh 250 kilograms or more. Atlantic, Pacific and Southern are the 3 species of bluefin tuna and are prized for their texture, flavor and marbling. The southern bluefin tuna, however, is the most renowned of the tuna varieties and the first choice for high-end restaurants, particularly those serving Japanese cuisine. Celebrated for its color, flavor and texture, this variety is internationally renowned and the tuna of choice in high-end restaurants. The 3 premium cuts of the southern bluefin tuna are known by the traditional Japanese terms otoro, akami and chutoro. Otoro is from the belly, or underside, of the fish and has the highest fat content. Otoro translates to big fat. Because of this fattiness, the otoro falls apart easily and can quite literally melt in your mouth. It is the most sought-after part of the fish because of its flavor and texture. The akami is the largest part of the fish, covering the top loin, shoulder and tail. It is meatier in texture and brighter in color. It is the most frequently used part of the fish because of its abundance. Yellowfin tuna and big-eye tuna are the 2 varieties known as ahi. Smaller than the bluefin and with a deep pink color, culinary terminology generally classifies them as sashimi grade and other. Big-eye tuna is the type of tuna you will find in sushi and sashimi offerings in supermarkets, inexpensive restaurants and sushi train bars. Yellowfin tuna, however, is most commonly used for canned products. Unlike its fatty relatives, yellowfin tuna has a low fat content and a light and refreshing taste. On the smaller side of their giant relatives, the albacore and skipjack tuna species are most commonly used for canned products. Skipjack tuna, often called light chunk, is the most abundant and widely fished of the tuna varieties. It is relatively small by comparison and is generally canned as tuna chunks and flakes, in brine or oil. Albacore tuna is another commonly canned tuna with a firmer texture and milder flavor than the skipjack variety. Due to their lighter colored flesh, they sometimes go by the name of white tuna. As pioneers in global tuna farming practice, we use a self-managed and sustainable approach to all our processes. Passionate about ensuring a sustainable future for the fish we farm, our fishing practices are all about sustainability. We want many generations to come to enjoy them as much as we do. The taste of sashimi is determined by the quality of fish and the way you cut it. Fishmonger Narito Ishii from Get Fish at Sydney's Fish Market tells SBS Food. The rule of thumb when cutting sashimi is to keep the fish cells as intact as possible. Always cut sashimi against the grain for more tender slices. This means slicing across the grain to make the connective tissues shorter. If you cut along the grain, your sashimi will be stringier. Sashimi is cut using one pulling motion, drawing the knife towards you. Pull the length of the knife through the fillet, starting at the bottom of the blade. You should never push and pull. Recipe: there are 2 ways to cut sashimi, depending on your preference and the type of fish you are using. Hirazukuri is the most common cutting style, easy for beginners, says Ishii. In hirazukuri, sashimi is cut from the right end of the saku or the sashimi block, working your way to the left. Hirazukuri gives you a thick, rectangular slice and is suitable for both red and white fish. On the other hand, in Sogizukuri, you start from the left end of the saku, with your knife angled to the right. Cutting at an angle makes the sashimi thinner with a broader cross-section. This is recommended for white fish with firmer flesh, like snapper. Not only does Sogizukuri bring out the fish's unique texture, but having a broader cross-section makes it suitable for carpaccio and any marinated dishes, as the flavors will infuse easily. Sashimi. The best knife to cut sashimi is, of course, a sashimi knife or yanagiba designed to do just that. Monty Govinda from Boatshed Gifts at the Sydney Fish Markets tells SBS Food. These are razor sharp and allow for delicate, intricate work. However, depending on the range, these carry a hefty price tag, from a few hundred to thousands. While these are tools worth investing in for chefs and the like, he says a fillet knife or any sharp knife with a thin long blade should do the job. Always check that it is sashimi grade, as some are not suited for raw eating. The fish market is the best place for sashimi, as these fish are handled separately from the fillets, says Ashi. This is not to say that fish in local stores are not fresh, but they are often handled roughly and can damage the cells. Also, check that the color is vibrant and the fillet is plump. You can also determine the freshness of tuna by looking at the bloodline. When it is fresh, it has a bright reddish-black color, but as it loses freshness, it gradually darkens in color. If unsliced and stored correctly, saku can stay sashimi quality for up to. Wrap your block in a paper towel, then Glad wrap. It is even better to keep them on a metallic tray in the chill section of your fridge. Sashimi. While the taste may be compromised, you can also freeze sashimi blocks. The best way to defrost them is to put them under cold running water if vacuum packaged. If not, allow it to defrost in the fridge overnight, and Ashi recommends always wipe away excess moisture. At a time when everything is costly, you can enjoy sushi and sashimi at home at a fraction of the price of eating.